I love dividends, and I get it. It's not perfect for all investors, and some investors don't like them because they're misinformed or they're just outright wrong. But I like them. And remember, look, if you're watching a video on social media about dividends, just because I like them and just because they're a smaller part of my portfolio doesn't mean that you have to buy them. If you don't like them, you are free to scroll to the next video. You don't have to rage type in the comments about how I'm an idiot. I have 600,000 followers on social media. I think I might know a thing or two, but it's not the law. No video on social media is the law. No opinion is the law. I'm not going to knock on your door and yell at you for not investing in dividends if you don't think they're right. And if you're on the younger side, maybe you have less in dividends. And if you're on the older side, maybe you have more in dividends. Or maybe you don't have any. It's not the law. Anyway, I'm going to close that door because it's going to drive me crazy. But here are 6 of the most popular dividend ETFs on the market currently. I'm going to break down what it costs you to get 100 shares, how much you would make at the end of the year in dividends, and if you so chose to reinvest the dividends, how many roughly shares you would get. But then I'm going to take all the money that we've invested in these hypothetical dividends, which is going to be around $76,000, and I'm going to put that into one dividend ETF to show you the difference. A lot of people are going to say, why not just a high yield savings account? Because the high yield savings account rates fluctuate constantly. And as the Fed lowers rates, those high yield savings will drop. You've probably gotten those emails. I know I have. That's the first reason. The second reason is you cannot save yourself into retirement. You cannot outsave inflation. In order to do that, you must invest. And yes, a high yield savings account at 4% might pay more in interest than some of the dividend stocks I'm about to show you, but that's not the only thing. McDonald's is up 213% in a decade. Another very common misconception is that these covered call ETFs are better. You can check the playlist or some of my more recent videos on that, but I obviously disagree. Take a look at one of the more popular covered call ETFs that has been around for 10 years. QYLD pays a really big dividend, but in the last 10 years, the fund is down 30%. I'm going to look on my screen over here, my other screen. Their dividend is $2.26 or 13.5%, which is great for income, but terrible for long-term investment. So here we go. We started off with AT&T. This is not financial advice, by the way, just education. 100 shares of AT&T is going to cost you $2,800. The dividend is $1.11 or just under 4%, which means you'll make around $111 per year, which if reinvested gets you around 4 shares per year. You always want to consider reinvesting your dividends, especially as a long-term investor, because you get compounding from that. You can see here that AT&T has a dividend safety grade of C+, so it's not terrible, but it's not great. 100 shares of Verizon will cost you $4,300. You'll earn around $271 a year, which gets you around 6 shares. Verizon's dividend safety grade is also C+. This is starting to look like my high school report card. Up next is Johnson & Johnson. This one's obviously a little bit more expensive. 100 shares will cost you around $15,000, but you'll make $520 a year in dividends, which will get you around 3 shares. However, Johnson & Johnson's dividend safety grade is B. Down at the bottom here, we're not even nearly done yet. Procter & Gamble will cost you $16,000 to get 100 shares. You'll earn around $423 a year in dividends, which will get you around 2 shares. Procter & Gamble comes through, though, with an A for a dividend safety grade. Up next, we have Coca-Cola. Is this a mini can or am I just a giant? 100 shares will cost you $7,200. You'll make $204 a year, and you'll get around 2 shares. Everybody knows how much I love a Big Mac. 100 shares of McDonald's, though, will cost you $30,000. You'll make $708 per year, roughly, in their dividend, which will get you around 2 shares. All told, this investment strategy, which again, not financial advice, just an example, will cost you around $76,300, and you'll make $2,200 a year in dividends. Now, that's to start. Imagine somewhere down the road, you have, say, 1,000 shares of some of these companies. Then you would make $2,000 a year in a dividend from Coca-Cola. To illustrate this point a little further, a few years ago, I had far fewer dividends than I do now, and I was making around $2,000 or $3,000 a year in various dividends. Now I'm making around $8,000 a year because I've purchased more dividend stocks. But still, the emphasis in my portfolio as a diversified investor is heavily technology. Oh, and McDonald's has a dividend safety grade of D. Now, what if we took that same $76,000 and we put it all into one dividend ETF instead? SCHD is one of the most popular dividend ETFs on the market. It's up 100% in the last decade. If you took that same $76,000, you would end up with 2,843 shares times their $1.04 dividend. You would make just under $3,000 a year in their dividend. Now you might decide, you know what, this ETF seems like the safer bet. It gives me a diversified portfolio when I only have to buy one investment, and I can make a little bit more money. All right, that's the video. Hit the follow. See you later.